You have got to be kidding me. Ash ranted as he stormed out of yet another Pewter City store. How can this whole city not sell any? Wow, what's got you riled up? Brock asked. I think I've been to just about every store here, and not one sells any TMs. Not one. He threw his arms up. It's ridiculous. You do remember that the mall in Celadon City is the only place in the Kanto area that sells them, right? Quote. He stood silently, looking unnervingly calm, before facepalming and letting a string of muffled obscenities. Pretty sure it's illegal to do that to someone with avocados and a mudbray regardless of region, Ash. Plus, I think they just assume trainers would know anyway. Brock quickly cut him off. And yes, I know why. Assuming isn't a good thing. There you are. The Pewter City officer Jenny spoke up once she got near. I got word of someone running from store to store like a madman. The owners were saying you were looking ready to rampage like a primip after the fifth one. Just glad it's just them exaggerating. I don't know about rampaging, but your beauty is making my heart go into a frenzy. Brock cried out, taking her hand as hearts fluttered around his eyes, much to her disconcert. Misty. Ash scooched over while Brock started his long history of flirting. Any chance you could order some for me? You're a gym leader as well. Even if that was allowed, Ash, her voice dropped to a whisper, the only place I'd be able to order them from is the Cerulean Gym, and that's where they'd be delivered to as well. Reet. Jenny lightly tugged her hand. I have to get back to work. Heading there anyway for the badge. He replied. Your sisters aren't as bad as they were before, are they? No, thankfully. Provided they remember to get all the Pokémon checked out, they should give you a decent fight for it. Speaking of Cerulean, that means we'll be heading across MT. Moon again, doesn't it? You think Team Rocket'll try to catch all the Clefairy and the Moonstone again? Ash shrugged, and winced when Jenny's Growlithe chomped Brock on the seat of his pants to make him finally let go of his owner. Ouch. Brock's gonna be sitting funny for a bit. As for Rocket, I'm not too sure. They did seem to recognize us a little, but we'll have to see what happens. Bye guys. Make sure Dad behaves. Brock called back to his siblings after announcing he'd be traveling with Ash and Misty. The kids all said their goodbyes, while Flint looked gobsmacked at the list he'd been given concerning his children's quirks. Cold spaghetti. Really? The man mumbled to himself. It was a couple of hours later, and anyone within range would have heard multiple explosions in the woods en route to the mountain, along with a tree or five toppling. Think that was overkill, Sky. Ash coughed as the smoke cleared from her latest hyper beam, revealing the blast zone and shattered wood rock pieces. You said make sure they get a good look at it. She responded, before turning to Butterfree. Okay, what exactly are you having them do? Brock asked while they stopped for lunch. He cringed a little when Butterfree's attempt to do similar ended in him knocking himself for a loop from recoil. Sky's teaching Scorch and Butterfree Hyper Beam. Scorch's showing Mew OWTH and Pikachu Seismic Toss, Pikachu's teaching them Iron Tail, and Meowth's teaching everyone Reflector Light Screen. Ash ticked off the moves on his hand while Pikachu worked on trying to heft up a log that, while it was only a few feet long, was as big around as he was. UNF. And he makes this look way easier. The electric mouse muttered, struggling to try and hoist it up for a throw. Look who's talking now. Scorch responded, holding his now sore tail after another failed attempt to break the rock he'd been hitting. Could be, HNNNGG, worse. Meowth tried hefting up a rock without using telekinesis. Not sure what'd fit at the moment, but oof, this is heavy, it could be. Any added comments were left to the imagination when a loud yell for help, along with angry chittering and squawks, was heard. Wait a second, didn't we run into a scientist on our way to Mount Moon? Misty asked, hearing the noise. Yeah, I remember that. Brock stood up. He was being attacked by a Zubat swarm. Ash was right behind him. Come on, looks like history's about to repeat itself. Aha. Hee help. Ow, quit it. The man yelped as he was nipped and smacked by the irate Zubat. A few more had joined in by the time Ash and the others arrived. Yep, just like before. Brock said while Pikachu scared them off with a thunderbolt. Again, the man introduced himself as Seymour and told them that somebody was agitating the Pokémon that lived in the caverns within the mountain, along with the Clefairy and the Moonstone he believed they came to Earth in. Soon as they entered one of the caves, a loud screech echoed their way, with a Crobat flying their way at full speed. Or, Brock's way, to be more specific. Looks like it's your turn for a reunion, Brock. Ash said, watching it fly in a way that indicated it was too excited to be thinking about attacking. Zoo-see Crobat. You're already evolved too. Brock said in surprise. As soon as it was near, it began buzzing around him, squeaking rapidly. Brock. Man, you will not believe the trippy-ass day I've had. First I wake up from this freaky dream about us all being in Hoenn, Johto, Jalapeno, Serrano, everything. And I'm back in the cave we first met, with all those annoying lights too. Then I remembered this is when we met, so I can't make up my mind if this is awesome or freaky, or both. MUOWTH translated since Ash was too busy snickering at how wired the Pokemon sounded. Wait, your Meowth can speak human? Seymour asked in astonishment, fumbling in his coat pockets for something. Pretty much. Ash shrugged, watching him take out a tape recorder. Don't ask me how, he's been able to since we met. Seymour attempted to start it up, but quickly realized he's forgotten batteries. Darn it. Once Crobat settled down, he let Brock recapture him and the group continued down the tunnel, seeing the other Pokémon affected by the lights. A set of which they spied tucked into an alcove, which Scorch promptly melted with a flamethrower. Was Team Rocket really this dickish when you guy first met him? He asked, hearing the sounds of relief several of the wild Pokémon made when it darkened. Kinda. They were a little bit smarter, too. Pikachu tapped his head. Maybe all that, blasting off, dislodged something. Maybe that explains why they always seem to go with pitfalls and crossdressing. Butterfree added. Although, James does seem to pull off the evening gowns way better than Jessie. Further down, they began hearing light singing. Clefairy, Clefairy. Guys, look. Misty pointed toward a Clefairy who was bouncing along nearby, carrying a shiny-looking rock. Well, you're another familiar face. Ash thought, re-adding the fairy type to his Pokédex. Pikachu, think you can ask if that one'll help us hunt down the lights and possibly the ones responsible. Worth a shot. Pikachu walked over and got its attention. The two carried on a quiet discussion for a couple of minutes, with the Clefairy giving them all a more relaxed reception as it went on. Finally, they all saw it motion for them to follow with a cheerful, Clefairy. Well, that was easy. Pikachu said. Once I told her we were here to help deal with the disturbance, she opened up. She? Ash asked. Huh, didn't know that. Well, Clefairy are a primarily female Pokémon. Seymour said. But, how did you know your Pikachu was telling you that? When you're around a Pokémon long enough, you pick up on things. Brock answered as they got in step behind her. Meow. Papa papa pop pop. Asterisk. Thud. Asterisk. OWW. Meowth groaned from the spot he hit after a flurry of wing attacks, courtesy of Crobat. Tink I just lost a tooth. Sorry. Still a little jumpy. Crobat chirped sheepishly. But you can't just jump out at a fella like that. Yep, it's Meowth. Ash sighed, hoisting the dazed feline up by the scruff of his neck. Couldn't resist, could you? He let out a weak laugh. Hey, would ya believe me if I said I told ya was da pizza guy? Prepare for trouble. Make it double. We know it's you guys. Misty hollered. Just give it a rest. Oh, come on. It's not the same without our motto. James protested. Jessie stood beside him, sulking a little at being interrupted. Yeah, we have to get in character. What motto are they talking about? MUOWTH asked. What do you mean, what motto? The two Rockets looked scandalized. It's the whole premise of what our mission statement is. May as well let them do it, Misty. Brock patted her shoulder. It's their spiel. She looked reluctant at first, before, fine, just hurry. Thank you. Now, where were we? James limbered up. Oddly enough, that brings back memories. Ash commented when they were done. Misty, however, was unimpressed. Still miffed about falling for those damn costumes. She whispered. Rather campy, but in a pleasant way. Mu-OWTH chuckled. Now that that's answered, why are you three aggravating the Pokémon like this? To make it easy to capture them, of course. Jessie retorted, her expression saying that should be obvious. Right, so why go through all this instead of just doing it the normal way? You know, battle to catch them. Be easier and a lot less stressful on them. Also, you don't have to worry about having to fight other trainers. He glanced to Pikachu, who let some electricity crackle off his cheeks to punctuate it. And risked getting sent flying, again. Jessie, James, and Meowth all stood there, with poleaxed expressions. Seymour was about to check on them when the air resounded with the sound of a triple facepalm, and numerous, creative obscenities. It took a fair bit of the night, and a lot of debating between the Clefairy themselves, but in the end, Team Rocket came out with 10 willing to battle. 3 of which they were able to win against, and another one who chose to come along anyway because she thought Ekans was cute. Along with a bag of 10 freshly mined evolution stones, Jessie, James, and Meowth were all over the moon at their first actual success. I can't believe it. This whole thing is ending on a positive for us. Jessie squealed, bouncing around like a kid getting their birthday, Halloween, and Christmas all on the same day. And we even get to leave on our own power this time. James whooped. Speaking of which. With a shout of, Team Rocket's running away this time. The 3 took off with their legitimately gotten gains. Ya think Giovanni'll let us keep one on. Team. Meowth asked as they dove into their hot air balloon, well out of hearing range of Ash and the others, mostly. Jessie laughed. If a bag of moonstones doesn't make him grin, I don't know what will. Huh, well. I guess that means we're. Ash started to say. Ash. Mu-OWTH spoke up, ears flickering around at what he'd just overheard. Should we ever run into Mr. Giovanni? There was rumble behind them, making human and Pokémon jump as a Snorlax-sized chunk of cavern wall was telekinetically reduced to dust. I'd like to have a word with him. Giovanni. Who's? He's the Viridian City gym leader, Ash. Brock reminded him. He was your last opponent before the tournament, remember? But I didn't face him. I went against Jessie. He paused, and Pikachu could swear he heard a record scratching. Oh. You gotta be shitting me. How'd I even freaking overlook that? Ash grumbled. He'd been wound up all night over the revelation that Giovanni was Team Rocket's boss. They were known criminals by then, so why in the hell would any self-respecting gym leader let those 2 fill in for them? I'm irked too, Ash. Brock said, as the group was back on the road to their next destination. I talked to the man at last year's gym trainer convention. That's a black mark for all of us. He sighed. Unfortunately, dwelling on our mistakes in the last timeline isn't going to help. And if the meshes had an effect on him too, maybe it won't be as bad as we think. Misty offered, spying a familiar road sign. Speaking of black marks. Gary Wu's here. Ash is a loser. Seriously, Ash muttered, glaring slightly at the horribly penned insult, and doodle of a smug Gary beside it. What's that near the bottom? Misty looked closer at the smaller, but neater, writing. It's names and numbers. Ash, Simone, Caroline, Tabitha, wait, those are some Gary's cheer squad. Almost all of them are girls Brock's age. Wait, is that 1 or 2 Bs? Brock hollered, furiously scribbling in a little notebook. However, his writing was interrupted by the sound of something being uprooted with impressive force. Oh wow, Misty squeaked as she watched Ash flex and pull the sign out of the ground with one hard tug. Don't think that move's gonna be gym legal, Butterfree commented. Sky let out a confused chirp. What move? Butterfree pointed at Missy's blush, then Ash's bicep. The panty dropper. Brock quickly raised a hand. Question. 2, actually, first off, how? Second, why? Well, the first one's gonna be kind of a long story. As for the second, it's in case Gary's still in town. Okay. I'll bite. Why, again? 1, so I can tell him how piss poor his handwriting's gotten. 2, technically he's committed vandalism. 3, I can let him know all this, and then brain him with it. He cackled maniacally at the thought. Some things never change. Pikachu said, watching his trainer march down the road, carrying the sign like a trophy of war. Guess I shouldn't be surprised. Ash grumbled after the cerulean officer Jenny confiscated the road sign. Apparently Gary and his entourage had left as soon as they were done with the gym, which was yesterday. Taking a car just seems like a really lazy way to do it. Misty muttered. She'd always heard the journey between gyms, and all the experiences that went with it, was just as important as the badges themselves. He could at least try driving it himself. Well, he'll be getting a ticket in the mail for graffiti anyway. Brock offer, before giving Ash a look. Now, sign yanking, make with the explaining. I'm more than a little curious about that as well. Misty ran a hand over his arm. Sweet mama, I'm still getting used to you being this muscled. Well, after I was put back together, Arceus decided to train me up a little in using aura. Turns out it can act as a strength booster. I can dent a steel plate with a punch. Ash grinned, but it hurts like hell for now. Now? Brock asked weakly, while Misty started giggling perversely. Muowth nodded. He'll just continue getting stronger as he trains. Yeah. Listen, maybe we better get to the gym before she starts leaving a trail. Pikachu gestured to Misty, who was now starting to drool. In more ways than one. The walk to the gym proved to take a bit less time than they expected, thanks mostly to an eager Misty dragging her boyfriend along. The gym itself was the same outside. Entering revealed the huge swimming pool that doubled as the match area. It didn't look any different than it did before, aside from looking like there were a few more water types in there. So, you sisters didn't go the showbiz route this time? Ash asked, watching a baby Poliwag that was curious about them. Show business. Tempting, but battles are a lot more satisfying. A voice called out from across the pool, showing it to be one of Misty's sisters looking over at them. Hey, Misty. Regretting that tattoo. Yet. She trailed off at the sight of Scorch. Wow, big Charizard. Scorch chuckled at that. You wish, Violet. Misty smirked. Ash couldn't resist, giving her rear a grab right on it. Personally, it's kinda grown on me too. Ash, she squeaked, whined. I'm horny enough as it is. Horn, wait, she stared at Ash. Misty, is this your? Say hello to Ash Ketchum, my boyfriend, and I believe your next challenger. All of Ash's Pokémon let out noises of assent. Right, two slight problems. Our Pokémon are all still recovering after the last couple of battles, it'll be tomorrow before any of them are 100%. And second, there's no way we can think about battling after hearing you say, my boyfriend. One of her other sisters joined in. Details, Squirt. By the time her sisters had gotten satisfied with everything, Ash could swear that they were eyeing him up like a steak. Misty had left out their first time in the cave, and the shower at the center. Everything else, though. Thought they'd never run out of questions. She exhaled, dragging Ash down the hall. Brock, though, was still having a slight pout when they left. But, they knew he'd snap out of it before the day was over. Come on, Ketchum. You owe me. Wah. Ash did his best to keep his balance. I'm hornier than a cacnea right now, thanks to you. The look she then gave him has his pants become very snug very quickly. Plus, I get to have you on my childhood bed this time. They quickly stopped at a door with a wooden starmie on it, and a sign saying, Misty's room. She threw the door open without another word and yanked him inside. He barely had time to note things like a few pictures of water Pokémon, and a poster from a previous Indigo League tournament, before he was flung onto the bed. Then his vision was filled with his own shirt being pulled off. Now strip. She ordered. Mama wants more of that Gyarados you're packing down there. Again, Lemon can be found at aisle 3. Scorch raised an eye at the sight of the girls, 3 of them waddling in slightly. Misty, on the other hand, was almost skipping, and all of them had very satisfied looks on their faces. Meanwhile, Ash was shirtless, holding 2 bottles of water and downing a third. Hey, Pikachu. He whispered, doing his best to be discreet. Does this mean we beat the gym? Pikachu glanced over in time to see Daisy wince a little, rubbing her rear with a giggle and lip bite. Yeah, I'd say Ash definitely beat them.